We are taught that being helpful, positive, and productive are always virtuous qualities. But Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the ancient world, warned us about how these very behaviors can actually weaken our character and diminish our inner strength. Look around you. We live in a world that glorifies endless hustle, constant availability, and relentless positivity. Yet beneath this shining surface lies a troubling reality. Millions of us are burning out, losing our sense of self, and becoming weaker with each good habit we adopt. If this resonates with you, hit that subscribe button now. I'm about to share ancient wisdom that will completely transform how you view personal development and save you years of energy-draining mistakes. Today, we're exploring 8 habits that society praises but actually weaken you at your core, followed by 4 Stoic strategies to reclaim your strength. 1. Constant productivity. Optimization. The burnout blueprint. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, warned against the obsession with constant activity. He wrote, "No great thing is created suddenly." The Stoics believed in purposeful action, not relentless busyness. They valued euthymia, a state of tranquility that comes from knowing you're on the right path, not from ticking endless boxes. Imagine waking up and immediately reaching for your phone, not to connect with loved ones, but to check your to-do list and productivity apps. Every minute of your day is scheduled. You squeeze in podcasts during your commute, answer emails over lunch, and feel guilty if you aren't multitasking. Even relaxation becomes another item to optimize. Meditation apps, sleep trackers, self-improvement audiobooks. You're praised for your hustle, but deep down, you're exhausted and anxious, haunted by the feeling that you're never doing enough. This obsession with productivity is driven by a cultural narrative that equates self-worth with output. We're conditioned to believe that our value is measured by how much we accomplish, how efficiently we use every moment. Psychologically, this triggers a cycle of chronic stress. Our brains are constantly in fight or flight mode, anticipating the next task, never truly resting. Over time, this leads to burnout, anxiety, and even depression. The more we optimize, the more we lose touch with our intrinsic motivation and sense of purpose. We become human doings instead of human beings. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic sage, wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The Stoics teach us that true productivity isn't about maximizing every second. It's about aligning our actions with our core values and accepting that some things are beyond our control. Instead of measuring life by output, they focused on the quality of their intentions and the tranquility of their minds. The Stoic approach is to act with purpose and presence, not panic. Seneca advised setting clear priorities and letting go of the need to do everything. He believed that a well-lived life is not about quantity, but about depth and meaning. When you focus on what truly matters, you conserve your energy for the things that align with your values, rather than scattering it across endless tasks. When you fall into the trap of constant productivity optimization, you may initially feel a surge of accomplishment, but over time, the consequences become clear. Burnout. Your energy reserves are depleted, making it harder to focus or feel motivated. Anxiety. The pressure to always be on creates chronic stress and restlessness. Loss of joy. Activities that once brought pleasure, reading, walking, spending time with friends, become just more items to optimize. Weakened relationships. You become so focused on output that you neglect meaningful connections. Diminished creativity. Constant busyness leaves no space for reflection or inspiration. Emotionally, this habit leaves you feeling hollow. There's a persistent sense of inadequacy, as if no matter how much you do, it's never enough. You may feel isolated. Everyone admires your productivity, but few understand the toll it takes. Over time, resentment builds toward your job, your responsibilities, even yourself. The behavioral pattern here is one of compulsive overscheduling and self-monitoring. You become addicted to the dopamine hits of checking off tasks, but the satisfaction is fleeting. You may notice yourself becoming irritable, impatient, or unable to relax. Even moments of rest are invaded by thoughts of what you should be doing. The Stoics would urge us to reclaim agency over our time and attention. They practiced premeditatio malorum, anticipating challenges and accepting that not everything can or should be controlled. By focusing on what is truly within our power, our choices, our attitudes, our responses, we free ourselves from the tyranny of endless optimization. Seneca's advice was to limit yourself to what is essential and to what reason demands. This means saying no to tasks that don't align with your purpose, and yes to moments of rest and reflection. It's about cultivating ataraxia, a calm, untroubled mind, rather than chasing endless achievement. Set clear priorities. Each morning, identify your top 3 meaningful tasks. Let go of the rest. Schedule downtime. Block out time for rest and reflection, and treat it as sacred. Practice presence. When working, focus fully on the task. When resting, allow yourself to truly unplug. Embrace imperfection. Accept that not everything will get done, and that's okay. Reflect regularly. Use journaling or meditation to reconnect with your values and intentions. When we let go of the need to optimize every moment, we reclaim our energy and focus for what truly matters. But there's another habit, just as insidious, that drains our strength, one that disguises itself as kindness, people-pleasing. Let's explore how this habit, too, can weaken us at our core. 2. People-pleasing, the boundary destroyer. Epictetus, a central figure in Stoic philosophy, warned that giving others control over our emotions and actions is a recipe for inner turmoil. He taught, any person capable of angering you becomes your master. He can anger you only when you permit yourself to do so. In the Stoic view, true strength comes from self-governance and the courage to act in accordance with one's own values, not from surrendering to the whims of others. Imagine you're the go-to person at work, in your family, or among friends. You're always the first to volunteer, to stay late, to pick up the slack. When someone asks for a favor, you say yes, even if it means sacrificing your own plans or well-being. You avoid conflict at all costs, often telling people what they want to hear just to keep the peace. Outwardly, you appear generous and agreeable. Inwardly, you feel drained, invisible, and sometimes resentful. You wonder why, despite your efforts, you rarely feel truly appreciated or understood. People-pleasing is rooted in a deep psychological need for acceptance and fear of rejection or abandonment. Many people-pleasers learned early on, often in childhood, that their safety or value depended on keeping others happy. This pattern can develop as a survival mechanism in volatile or unpredictable environments, where pleasing authority figures or caregivers was a way to avoid conflict or emotional harm. Over time, this habit becomes ingrained. You derive your self-worth from external validation, and your boundaries become porous or non-existent. This self-sacrifice, while praised by society as kindness or selflessness, often leads to a host of negative consequences. Loss of self-identity, constantly prioritizing others' needs, causes you to lose touch with your own preferences, desires, and goals. Resentment and anger. Suppressing your needs can build up hidden resentment and anger, which may eventually erupt or turn inward as depression. Burnout and stress. The relentless effort to meet everyone else's needs leaves you exhausted and overwhelmed. Low self-esteem, relying on others' approval for your sense of worth, erodes your confidence and self-respect. Anxiety and depression. The constant worry about others' opinions and the fear of rejection can contribute to chronic anxiety and depression. Poor boundaries, difficulty saying no, or advocating for yourself leads to one-sided relationships where your needs are overlooked or exploited. The Stoics recognize that virtue and happiness come from living in harmony with your own values, not from bending to every external demand. Epictetus taught that we must use our rational faculty to determine what is truly within our control, our own actions, choices, and responses, and let go of the need to control how others perceive us. By setting clear boundaries and practicing self-respect, we reclaim our autonomy and cultivate authentic relationships based on mutual respect, not obligation or fear. Stoic practice involves regularly examining your motives. Are you acting from a place of virtue and integrity, or from a desire to avoid discomfort or gain approval? The Stoics would urge us to develop the courage to say no when necessary, to express our true thoughts and feelings, and to accept that not everyone will be pleased by our choices. This is not selfishness, but the foundation of genuine strength and self-mastery. Consider the friend who always organizes the group outings, covers for others at work, or takes on extra chores at home. At first, they're appreciated, but over time, their efforts are taken for granted. They feel invisible and unappreciated, and their relationships become imbalanced. Or the employee who never disagrees with their boss, even when they know a project is headed for failure. Eventually, their silence leads to bigger problems for everyone. People pleasers may also find themselves in codependent dynamics, where their sense of safety becomes tied to being needed by others. They may feel responsible for others' happiness and take on emotional labor that isn't theirs to carry, leading to further exhaustion and loss of self. The emotional toll of people-pleasing is profound. There's a constant undercurrent of anxiety, worrying about disappointing others, being disliked, or causing conflict. Over time, this anxiety can morph into depression as you suppress your own needs and lose sight of your identity. Resentment simmers beneath the surface, and guilt arises any time you consider prioritizing yourself. You may even feel anger, but direct it inward, blaming yourself for not being enough. People-pleasing is a pattern of chronic self-abandonment. You habitually say yes when you mean no, apologize for things that aren't your fault, and rarely express disagreement or criticism. You may find it difficult to identify your own preferences deferring to others' wishes out of habit. Over time, this pattern becomes self-reinforcing. The more you please, the more others expect from you, and the harder it becomes to break free. Stoicism teaches us to cultivate an internal locus of control and to act in accordance with virtue, courage, wisdom, justice, and self-control. This means honoring your own needs and values and accepting that not everyone will approve. The Stoics would encourage you to practice assertiveness, to set and maintain healthy boundaries, and to view discomfort or disapproval as opportunities for growth rather than threats to your worth. Reflect on your motives. Before saying yes, ask yourself if you're acting from genuine generosity or from fear of rejection. Practice saying no. Start with small refusals and gradually build up to bigger ones. Remember, every no to others is a yes to yourself. Clarify your values. Identify what truly matters to you and use these values as your guide for decision-making. Set boundaries. Communicate your limits clearly and kindly. Boundaries are not walls. They're the foundation of healthy relationships. Embrace discomfort. Accept that some conflict is inevitable and that your worth is not contingent on universal approval. When you begin to honor your own needs and set clear boundaries, you reclaim your energy and self-respect. But the journey to authentic strength doesn't end here. Next, we'll explore another habit that masquerades as virtue, but secretly undermines your emotional well-being. Excessive positivity. 3. Excessive positivity, the emotional suppression trap. The Stoics never rejected emotions. They distinguished between unhelpful impulses and reasoned feelings. Chrysippus taught that all passions are brief disturbances of the soul and must be met with rational examination. Epictetus added, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." In Stoicism, true equanimity arises not from denying negative feelings, but from acknowledging and transforming them. Imagine you've just endured a difficult breakup or lost a job. A well-meaning friend tells you, "Stay positive. Everything happens for a reason." You force a smile, post an upbeat update on social media, and hide your tears. You tell yourself you shouldn't feel sadness or anger, yet inside, emotions churn unchecked like a pressure cooker. You endure advice to look on the bright side, even though your pain begs for honest attention. Toxic positivity overgeneralizes optimism, dismissing genuine emotional distress as weakness or ingratitude. Psychologically, this triggers emotional suppression, a coping strategy shown to increase stress, anxiety, and even physical health issues such as hypertension. Suppression disrupts natural emotional processing, preventing adaptive coping and fueling intrusive thoughts. In effect, forcing cheerfulness leaves negative emotions unresolved, where they fester beneath the surface and later erupt with greater intensity. Rather than silencing distress, the Stoics practiced prosauche, mindful attention, to observe feelings without judgment. They employed premeditatio malorum, negative visualization, to anticipate and accept pain as part of life's fabric, reducing its power when it arises. By consciously examining the judgments that give rise to feelings, they transformed passive suppression into active understanding. The goal was not to eliminate sadness or anger, but to regulate them through reasoned perspective. Isolation and shame. When people feel they must always appear happy, They hide struggles and withdraw, eroding authentic connection. Stunted growth, negative emotions, signal needs and values. Ignoring them halts self-awareness and learning. Relationship strain, partners or friends who can't express pain lose opportunities for empathy and support, weakening bonds. Mental health decline, chronic suppression correlates with higher rates of depression, anxiety, and even suicidal ideation among youth and adults. Emotionally, toxic positivity breeds guilt. I shouldn't feel this way. Shame, my sadness is unacceptable. And helplessness, no one understands me. The constant pretense of happiness feels hollow, fostering a sense of alienation and self-doubt. The core pattern is reflexive invalidation of discomfort. Encounter a negative emotion, sadness, anger, fear. Apply a positivity veneer. Look on the bright side. Suppress the authentic feeling. Experience temporary relief, followed by intensified distress. Over time, this cycle becomes compulsive, with positivity cliches replacing genuine emotional processing. Stoicism teaches that emotions arise from our beliefs about events, not events themselves. By shifting focus from external circumstances to internal judgments, we regain control over our emotional lives. Recognizing emotions as transient impressions allows us to respond with wisdom rather than automatic denial. This practice cultivates ataraxia, a calm, imperturbable mind, through honest engagement with all feelings, not just the pleasant ones. Validate your feelings. Name the emotion. I feel sad. I'm angry. Without self-criticism. Journal without filter. Write raw thoughts before imposing optimistic spins. Practice active listening. When others share pain, resist offering quick fixes. Instead, acknowledge, that sounds really hard. Use balanced self-talk. Replace don't think about it with it's natural to feel this way, and this too shall pass. Apply negative visualization. Stoic pre-review of challenges reduces shock and builds resilience. Set feeling check reminders. Pause several times a day to scan your emotions and allow yourself full permission to experience them. Acknowledging and processing negative emotions restores inner balance and prevents the emotional overload that toxic positivity creates. Yet there remains another common habit that quietly drains our vitality: constant availability. In the next section, we'll explore how saying yes to everyone fractures our focus and undermines our strength. 4. Always being available. The energy vampire. Seneca and Marcus Aurelius both emphasize the power of deliberate solitude as a means to cultivate inner resilience. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that men seek retreats for themselves, but it is in thy power whenever thou shalt choose to retire into thyself. Tranquility is nothing else than the good ordering of the mind. By guarding our attention and withdrawing into our own reasoned reflections, we restore mental cohesion rather than fragmenting our energy across endless demands. Your smartphone buzzes before you've even opened your eyes. Slack pings, email notifications, social media alerts. You reply instantly, worried that any delay will signal unreliability. During meals, you glance at notifications. Before bed, you scroll through messages. You've convinced yourself that if you're reachable 24/7, you're indispensable, but you're left feeling perpetually drained. Every alert triggers a mini stress response. Your sympathetic nervous system releases adrenaline, raising heart rate and diverting energy from higher order thinking to prepare for action. You rarely allow yourself to return to baseline, so cumulative stress becomes chronic. Psychologically, constant availability erodes your capacity for deep focus, undermines deliberate decision-making, and trains your brain into a reactive rather than reflective mode. The Stoics practiced prososche, mindful attention, to keep their minds free from the tyranny of external interruptions. By recalling that true authority lies in controlling one's own judgments and responses, they resisted the pull of arbitrary demands. Marcus Aurelius counseled brief, intentional retreats into self to renew thyself and return free from all discontent. This practice cultivates ataraxia, a steady calm in the face of perpetual external stimuli. Unchecked, always-on behavior leads to burnout and exhaustion. Lack of recovery time means you never replenish mental or physical energy. Anxiety and chronic stress. Each notification spikes cortisol, which in excess contributes to anxiety disorders and cardiovascular strain. Impaired relationships. Fragmented attention during conversations damages intimacy and trust. Reduced creativity and problem solving. The constant dopamine rush from checking alerts undermines deeper, sustained cognitive engagement. Emotionally, you may feel perpetually anxious, as if a storm of demands could strike at any moment. There's a persistent restlessness, an inability to settle into a task without anticipating the next ping. When you do carve out time, guilt or FOMO, fear of missing out, undermines genuine relaxation. This habit follows a clear cycle. Phone alerts emit. You check immediately for reassurance. A brief dopamine or relief burst occurs. You return to heightened vigilance, awaiting the next alert. Over time, you unlock your device an average of 100 to 150 times daily, training your neural pathways to crave distraction and preventing sustained attention or meaningful rest. Stoicism teaches the dichotomy of control. External notifications lie outside your true domain, while your choice to engage or not remains within it. By focusing on what you can control, your responses and attention, you reclaim autonomy over your time and mental space. Like a fortress defending against siege, your inner citadel stands firm against the barrage of interruptions. Establish availability windows. Define specific times for email, messaging apps, and social media. Outside those windows, turn off alerts or enable do not disturb modes. Use auto replies and communication norms. Clearly communicate expected response times, e.g., I check messages at noon and 4 p.m. This trains others to respect your boundaries. Schedule digital Sabbaths. Designate one day or several hours per week for complete disconnection. No work apps, no social media to restore baseline tranquility. Create physical distance. Charge your phone outside the bedroom or in another room during focused work periods to reduce temptation. Practice brief, inner retreats. Adopt Marcus Aurelius' habit of a 2-minute morning pause. Close your eyes, reflect on your core principles, and set an intention for the day's focus before re-engaging with the external world. Implementing selective availability fortifies your inner calm and restores the mental energy needed to live deliberately. However, another deceptively benign habit lurks nearby: perfectionism, which traps us in endless revision and stifles true progress. In the next section, we'll explore how the pursuit of flawlessness can quietly undermine our potential. 5. Perfectionism, the progress killer. Seneca reminds us that no great thing is created suddenly. Virtue and mastery arise from incremental progress, not flawless execution. The later Roman Stoics likewise downplayed the myth of the perfect sage, urging instead a daily practice of small improvements toward wisdom. Marcus Aurelius echoed this ideal when he observed that true character lies in living without frenzy, without apathy, without pretense, not in seeking an unattainable ideal of perfection. Imagine you've spent weeks polishing a slide deck, rewriting paragraphs until each word feels just right. You postpone the client meeting because you fear any imperfection will expose your incompetence. Deadlines loom, yet you can't hit send, convinced that only a flawless product earns respect. Meanwhile, competitors launch theirs, iterate, and learn, while you remain stuck in revision loops. Perfectionism springs from the belief that mistakes equal failure and that one's worth depends on flawless performance. Psychologists distinguish between perfectionistic strivings, setting high standards, and perfectionistic concerns, fear of harsh judgment and self-doubt. It is these concerns that generate a subjective gap between the ideal self and the actual self, triggering chronic procrastination and avoidance of tasks perceived as imperfect. The Stoic dichotomy of control teaches that our energy belongs to what we can influence, our choices, effort, and attitude, not to outcomes or external judgments. By relinquishing the need for perfect results and focusing instead on virtuous effort, we embody the Stoic commitment to continuous practice. Seneca likens philosophy to medicine. Both require ongoing application, not once-off cures. When perfectionism goes unchecked, its effects mirror those of its opposite: sloth, decreased productivity, endless revisions, delay progress, and undercut momentum. Impaired health, chronic stress, insomnia, and burnout from constant self-scrutiny. Troubled relationships, missed social engagements, and withdrawn communication. Low self-esteem, persistent self-criticism fuels anxiety and depression. Emotionally, perfectionism breeds a toxic blend of guilt and shame. You feel you're never measuring up, yet fear that exposing any flaw will confirm your inadequacy. Occasional bursts of pride at near perfect results are fleeting. They soon give way to fresh doubts and self-loathing when the next project begins. Perfectionism follows a self-reinforcing cycle. Set exceptionally high standards. Encounter minor error or delay. Experience anxiety and self-reproach. Delay or avoid task. Procrastination. Repeat with even tighter standards, widening the gap between ambition and action. Stoicism counsels negative visualization, premeditatio malorum. By contemplating potential setbacks, we lessen their power and learn to accept imperfection as part of life's ebb and flow. Embracing the golden mean, avoiding extremes of both apathy and frenzy, grounds us in balanced action rather than paralyzing ideals. Define good enough. Criteria. For each task, set clear, limited success metrics, then commit to completion once they're met. Time box your work. Allocate a fixed period for drafting or revising, and stop when time's up, regardless of remaining tweaks. Embrace draft first Edit later. Separate creative flow from critical review to prevent early self-censorship. Use minimum viable product mindset. Launch with core functionality, then improve based on feedback. Practice imperfection. Deliberately share a rough draft with a trusted friend to build tolerance for flaws. Reflect on growth. Keep a progress journal, noting small wins and lessons from mistakes, shifting focus from flawless outcomes to steady development. By relinquishing the illusion of faultless performance and honoring steady progress, you free yourself to act decisively and learn from real-world feedback. Yet another habit stealthily undermines our strength: chronic comparison, which steals joy by measuring our worth against others. In the next section, we'll explore how to break free from this self-sabotaging loop. 6. Chronic comparison, the self-worth saboteur. Epictetus taught that it is not events that disturb people, but their judgments concerning them. In Stoic thought, comparison itself is a judgment. When you measure your worth against others, you invite emotional turmoil. True Stoic practice calls for directing judgments inward, toward one's own choices and character, rather than outward toward others. Imagine scrolling through social media and pausing at every post: a friend's vacation in Bali, a colleague's promotion announcement, or an influencer's fitness transformation. You tally your life against theirs. My life isn't as exciting. I'm not successful enough. I'm not fit enough. Each swipe feeds your insecurity. When you see someone struggling, you fleetingly feel superior, only to plunge back into inadequacy at the next highlight. Leon Festinger's social comparison theory posits that we compare our abilities and opinions to similar others to gauge where we stand. Upward comparisons to those we perceive as better off erode self-esteem and spark envy, while downward comparisons toward those worse off can foster undue complacency. This external reference point undermines intrinsic motivation and cedes control of your happiness to others' performances. Chronic comparison can lead to envy and resentment, persistent feelings of bitterness toward peers' successes, low self-esteem, believing you're never good enough despite achievements, anxiety and depression. Studies link frequent upward comparisons to clinical anxiety and depressive symptoms, especially in adolescence. Relationship strain. Jealousy erodes trust, while superiority breeds isolation. Stalled growth. Focusing on others' progress distracts you from your own path. Emotionally, chronic comparison breeds a cycle of guilt. Why can't I be like them? Shame, I'm a failure. And envy, I deserve what they have. This cocktail leaves you restless and dissatisfied, even when life objectively goes well. This habit unfolds in 4 steps. Identify a target who seems superior, upward, or inferior, downward. Judge your own life against theirs. Experience a dopamine dip from perceived shortcomings or a fleeting high from feeling better. Repeat compulsively, tethering self-worth to external benchmarks. The Stoics asserted that the only true comparison is with one's past self. Marcus Aurelius counseled, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Excellence lies in virtuous action, not in outdoing others. By focusing on intentions and effort, what you can control, you break the chain of comparison. Dichotomy of control. Recognize that others' achievements and opinions are externals beyond your domain. Only your judgments and choices truly matter. Negative visualization. Imagine losing your strengths or status to cultivate gratitude and reduce fear of inadequacy. Continuous self-improvement. Treat life as a contest with yourself. Aim to be better today than yesterday, not better than someone else. Set personal benchmarks. Each week, choose a skill to track against your prior performance instead of others. Limit comparison triggers. Unfollow or mute accounts that spark envy. Designate social media free times. Cultivate gratitude. Journal 3 things you did well each day, disconnecting worth from others' metrics. Reframe upward comparisons. View them as inspiration. Ask, what can I learn from this? Rather than, why am I lacking? Practice mindful self-reflection. At day's end, compare your actions to Stoic virtues, courage, wisdom, justice, self-control, rather than peers' accomplishments. By relinquishing the habit of measuring yourself against others, you reclaim inner peace and focus energy on authentic growth. Yet another common habit stealthily undermines self-strength, endless self-improvement, which traps us in perpetual theory and stifles real action. In the next section, we'll explore how this optimization addiction weakens rather than empowers. 7. Endless self-improvement, the optimization addiction. Epictetus counseled that waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one. Stoicism is not a philosophy of endless theory, but of consistent practice. The dichotomy of control reminds us that what matters is our effort and choices, not the accumulation of techniques or the pursuit of ever new systems. Picture your bookshelf overflowing with self-help tomes and your podcast queue bursting with productivity hacks. Each night, you scroll summaries of the latest personal growth bestsellers, convinced the next approach will be the silver bullet. Yet you rarely apply what you learn. Your habits remain unchanged. And each morning, you wake craving yet another strategy to try. This optimization addiction springs from the cognitive bias known as the paradox of choice. Believing that more options guarantees a better outcome, we spawn analysis paralysis instead. Simultaneously, information overload bombards our minds with more frameworks than we can integrate, leaving us perpetually in research mode rather than action. We chase novelty, the dopamine hit of discovering a new method, while neglecting the hard work of implementation. Seneca compared philosophy to medicine. Both require steady application, not theoretical memorization. By focusing on one principle at a time, internalizing it through daily reflection and action, we embody Stoic wisdom. Marcus Aurelius declared that true excellence arises from living virtue moment by moment, not from endless planning or instruction. The Stoics practiced prososche, mindful attention, to anchor themselves in the present task, not in the horizon of one-day transformation. Stalled progress. You churn through dozens of strategies, but fail to master any, so meaningful change remains out of reach. Decision fatigue. The incessant demand to choose the best program depletes willpower, making even small tasks feel overwhelming. Guilt and frustration. You berate yourself for not following through, fueling anxiety and eroding self-confidence. Shallow growth. You skim breadth without depth, cultivating surface-level knowledge rather than internalized character. Emotionally, this habit breeds chronic restlessness and discontent. There's a subtle shame in never arriving at that promised peak version of yourself. Each abandoned system feels like a personal failure, deepening self-doubt and fueling a compulsive hunt for the next must-read. The cycle unfolds as follows. Identify a perceived shortcoming. Research a new method or tool to fix it. Feel a surge of optimism upon discovery. Struggle to integrate the method amid daily demands. Abandon it as ineffective, restarting the search. Over time, this loops indefinitely, masquerading as progress while producing inertia. Stoicism teaches mastery through repetition and small daily routines. Rather than chase novelty, commit to one practice, whether it's evening reflection, morning negative visualization, or a focused journaling prompt, and perform it regardless of immediate results. By embracing ataraxia, a calm mind undisturbed by the next shiny promise, you gain clarity to see which few practices truly serve your highest purpose. Pick one principle. Select a single Stoic practice, e.g., morning intention setting, and apply it faithfully for 4 weeks before considering another. Time box experimentation. Allocate a fixed trial period, e.g., 2 weeks, for any new tool. If it fails to stick, let it go without judgment. Track consistency, not outcomes. Measure success by daily adherence to your chosen practice, not by the magnitude of change it produces immediately. Embrace minimum effective dose. Identify the smallest action that yields noticeable benefit. 5 minutes of journaling, 1 brief meditation, and regard that as complete. Weekly reflection. Reserve time each Sunday to review what you actually implemented, what you learned, and whether to continue, ensuring theory remains subordinate to lived experience. By breaking free from the cycle of perpetual experimentation and focusing on consistent practice, you reclaim the power to transform. Yet another insidious habit undermines authenticity and courage, avoiding all conflict, which will be explored in the next section. 8. Avoiding all conflict. The authenticity killer. Marcus Aurelius counseled that true integrity requires confronting truth, however uncomfortable. He wrote, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth by which no one was ever truly harmed." For the Stoics, conflict isn't a threat to avoid, but an opportunity to align actions with virtue and reason. You duck every difficult conversation. At work, you never challenge poor decisions. With friends, you laugh off hurtful jokes. And at home, you swallow criticisms to keep the peace. You cultivate a persona of agreeableness while burying your real thoughts and feelings. Outwardly, you're the nice one, but inside you feel unseen, anxious, and unmoored from your own values. Conflict avoidance stems from a fear of disapproval and discomfort. Psychologists define a conflict-avoidant personality as one that sidesteps disagreements at all costs, often bottling up emotions until they later explode in passive-aggressive outbursts. By refusing to engage, you sacrifice authenticity for an illusion of harmony and cede your voice to others, undermining both self-respect and relational trust. Rather than evading tension, the Stoics practice prosoche, mindful attention, to face disturbance without flinching. Epictetus taught that disturbances arise not from events, but from our judgments about them. By examining those judgments, we transform conflict from a peril into a path toward wisdom. Confrontation, approached with justice and self-control, becomes a vehicle for truth and unity. Eroded relationships, unspoken grievances, fester, breeding resentment and mistrust. Diminished self-worth. Each avoided conversation signals that your needs and opinions don't matter. Stunted personal growth. You miss feedback that could refine your judgment and character. Emotional numbness. Continual self-silencing dulls your capacity to feel and express genuine emotion. Emotionally, chronic avoidance fosters guilt. I shouldn't rock the boat. Shame. My feelings aren't valid. And anxiety. What if they reject me? You feel hollow, seen only as agreeable, rather than as a full person with convictions. Encounter potential conflict. Override discomfort with platitudes or silence. Suppress authentic response, gaining fleeting relief. Later, suppressed emotions intensify, eroding self-trust. This loop trains you to equate authenticity with danger, making each future confrontation feel more insurmountable. The Stoic dichotomy of control reminds us that only our own judgments and actions lie within our power. Others' reactions do not. Viewing conflict as an indifferent external, we focus on responding virtuously, courageously speaking truth, exercising justice, and maintaining self-control, rather than on controlling outcomes or others' opinions. Redefine conflict. See it as a joint problem-solving process. Begin conversations with, I'd like to understand your view and share mine. Prepare your mindset. Before a difficult talk, reflect on your Stoic goal, acting with integrity, not winning. Use I statements. Frame concerns around your own feelings and needs. I feel overlooked when, reducing blame and defensiveness. Practice small confrontations. Start with low-stakes issues. Correct a wrong order. Disagree on a minor plan to build confidence. Reflect on outcomes. After each conversation, journal what you learned about yourself and the other, reinforcing growth over perfection. By engaging conflict with mindful honesty, you reclaim your voice and integrity. Next, we'll explore 4 Stoic strategies to fortify your inner strength and transform challenges into opportunities for growth. 1. Master the dichotomy of control. Reclaim your power. At the heart of Stoic practice lies the simple yet profound insight that our frustration, anxiety, and helplessness stem not from external events themselves, but from our judgments about them. By mastering the dichotomy of control, we learn to distinguish between what is truly ours to influence, our own thoughts, choices, and actions, and what lies entirely beyond our reach. Embracing this distinction is the first step toward genuine autonomy, inner calm, and lasting resilience. Epictetus, once a slave turned Stoic teacher, declared that life's chief task is to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly which are externals not under my control and which have to do with the choices I actually control. Marcus Aurelius echoed this in his Meditations. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Rather than struggling against the tides of fortune, the Stoics cultivated an inner citadel where unshakable self-governance reigns. Imagine you're overseeing a project team. A supplier delay threatens your deadline, and colleagues bombard you with frantic questions. You can't control the supplier's production line or market forces causing the holdup. Yet, You can control your response, how you communicate with stakeholders, how you reallocate resources, and how you manage your own stress. By focusing energy on decisions you can make, you prevent the supplier's delay from spiraling into personal burnout or team chaos. Modern psychology shows that an internal locus of control, the belief that one's actions shape outcomes, is linked to higher well-being, lower anxiety, and greater resilience. When we mistake externals, other people's opinions, random events, market fluctuations, for controllables, we set ourselves up for chronic stress. Each unexpected setback triggers fight or flight responses, flooding our brains with cortisol. Over time, this erodes cognitive performance, emotional balance, and physical health. Morning control inventory. Before rising, list 3 concerns you face today. For each, mark whether it's within your power, e.g., your effort, attitude, words, or beyond it, e.g., weather, others' choices, past mistakes. Commit your energy only to the controllables. Is it mine? Checkpoint. When stress flares, an abrupt email, a sudden problem, pause and ask, can I directly influence this? If yes, plan an action step. If not, practice immediate emotional release. Exhale. Refocus on your next task. Daily Journal of Agency. Each evening, record 2 instances where you concentrated on controllable factors and 2 where you mistakenly fretted over externals. Reflect on how redirecting focus altered your mood, productivity, or relationships. Control circle visualization. Draw 2 concentric circles, the inner for controllables, the outer for externals. Place real challenges onto the circles as they arise. Watch your inner circle grow as you practice accurate discrimination. Affirmation and anchoring. Memorize a brief mantra. This is not mine to fix. My power lies here, and repeat it when overwhelmed. Anchor it to a physical gesture, e.g., pressing thumb and forefinger, so the reminder triggers automatic calm. By continually redirecting attention from externals to your own sphere of choice, you cultivate an internal locus where setbacks no longer paralyze you. Psychologically, this reduces learned helplessness and builds self-efficacy, the belief that your efforts make a real difference. You replace rumination about what should have been with purposeful action in the present moment. Over weeks, this rewiring of attention fosters a deep, enduring sense of empowerment. Old cycle, external event, catastrophic judgment. This ruins everything. Anxiety or anger, reactive behavior or avoidance. New cycle, external event, control checkpoint. What can I do? Deliberate decision, focused effort or acceptance. By interrupting the automatic emotional run-on with a moment of stoic inquiry, you prevent stress hormones from hijacking your mind and break the habit of powerless reactivity. Enhance focus. Freed from futile worry, you channel concentration into genuine problem solving. Stress reduction. Cortisol spikes become rare, improving sleep, immunity, and mood. Resilient relationships. Others sense your calm steadiness, fostering trust and collaboration. Sustained motivation. Successes accumulate as you celebrate effort rather than lament uncontrollable outcomes. Mastering the dichotomy of control is not a one-and-done lesson, but a daily discipline. Each morning's inventory, Each evening's reflection and each real-time checkpoint reinforce your inner citadel's walls. As your mastery deepens, you'll find that external turmoil loses its power to disturb, and that genuine freedom lies not in changing the world around you, but in governing your own mind. Once this foundation is secure, you're ready to apply focused strategies for selective availability, balanced living, and philosophical immunity, each building on the bedrock of sovereign self-control. 2. Practice selective availability. Guard your energy. Seneca observed that solitude and company may be allowed to take their turns. The one creates in us the love of mankind, the other that of ourselves. By deliberately stepping back from external demands, the Stoics preserved mental cohesion and reclaimed inner calm. Marcus Aurelius likewise urged brief, intentional retreats into the mind to restore the good ordering of the mind and withstand life's storms. Picture waking each morning to an avalanche of pings, email, chat, calendar reminders. You feel compelled to respond instantly, convinced that any delay signals unreliability. During meals, you glance at your phone. In meetings, you juggle side chats. Even personal conversations are punctuated by the hum of incoming alerts. By day's end, your attention has splintered and you're too drained for genuine rest. Every notification hijacks your focus and triggers a stress response. Adrenaline surges, heart rate spikes, and cognitive resources divert to prepare for action. The average US smartphone user receives 46 notifications daily, and each interruption demands an average of 23 minutes to refocus. Over time, this chronic fragmentation doubles error rates, reduces truly productive work to under 3 hours a day, and elevates anxiety and burnout. Define availability windows. Set fixed blocks, e.g., 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. for checking and responding to messages. Outside these windows, silence alerts or activate do not disturb. Communicate boundaries. Use auto replies stating your response schedule, e.g., I check messages twice daily at 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. Share these norms with colleagues and loved ones so expectations align. Schedule digital Sabbaths. Designate evenings or one full day per week with no work apps or social media. Treat this time as inviolable for rest, reflection, or analog pursuits. Create physical distance. Charge your phone outside the bedroom to prevent nighttime intrusions. Keep devices in another room while working to minimize temptation. Adopt brief inner retreats. Practice a 2-minute pause before checking your phone. Close your eyes, take 3 deep breaths, and reaffirm your focus. Use a simple mantra, my attention is my power, paired with a physical gesture to anchor calm. By shifting from reactive availability to intentional engagement, you reclaim ownership of your attention and energy. This cultivates an internal locus of control. Rather than serving every external demand, you choose when and how to engage. Psychologically, this reduces learned helplessness and bolsters self-efficacy as you see direct consequences of your boundary choices. Enhanced focus. With protected attention blocks, deep work flourishes and creativity rebounds. Reduced stress, fewer cortisol spikes lead to better sleep quality, improved immunity, and steadier moods. Healthier relationships, fully present interactions, build trust and intimacy, free from divided attention. Sustained productivity, energy, conserved through selective availability, fuels consistent, meaningful output. Cultivating selective availability fortifies your mental citadel and preserves the energy vital for purposeful living. Next, we'll explore how embracing the Stoic golden mean helps you find balance between extremes, fostering sustainable excellence rather than fleeting bursts of overextension. 3. Embrace the middle path. Find your golden mean. At the heart of Stoic and broader classical wisdom lies the principle of moderation. Excellence emerges not from extremes, but from the balanced middle ground. This strategy invites you to steer between deficiency and excess in every domain of life, cultivating sustainable habits, resilient character, and genuine flourishing. Aristotle's famous golden mean defines virtue as the intermediate between two vices, one of excess and one of deficiency. Though Stoics did not use Aristotle's terminology directly, they shared his conviction that virtue lies in reasoned balance rather than fanatic extremes. Marcus Aurelius urged acting without frenzy, without apathy, without pretense, embodying the Stoic middle way. By tempering desires and fears, you align actions with nature and maintain inner equilibrium. Contemporary psychology validates this ancient insight through the Yerkes-Dodson law, which demonstrates an inverted U relationship between arousal, stress, and performance. Too little challenge leads to boredom and disengagement, while too much causes overwhelm and breakdown. Optimal performance occurs at moderate arousal levels. Translating this broadly, any trait, ambition, socializing, self-care, yields the best outcomes when practiced in moderation. Imagine your work ethic. If you constantly push yourself to the brink, late nights, skipped meals, uninterrupted sprints, you risk burnout, health problems, and declining creativity. Conversely, if you avoid challenge altogether, you stagnate and miss growth. Embracing the middle path means scheduling focused work blocks alongside regular rest, pursuing goals with steady consistency rather than frantic bursts, and leaving space for spontaneity. Identify extremes and mean. List areas of your life where you oscillate between too much and too little, e.g., exercise, screen time, social media, meals. For each, define what good enough looks like, an actionable range rather than a rigid target. Set balance routines. Use simple metrics, 30 to 45 minutes of deep work, followed by a 10-minute break, 3 balanced meals per day, 2 social outings per week. Treat these as flexible guides, adjusting based on feedback from energy levels and mood. Apply strategic imperfection. Deliberately leave small tasks unfinished or accept good enough standards for non-critical activities to prevent overinvestment in details. Daily calibration check. At midday, pause to ask, am I leaning toward excess or deficiency here? Gently course correct before extremes take hold. Reflect with journaling. Each evening, note one habit you balance well and one you tip too far. Celebrate moderate success and plan a tweak for tomorrow. Adopting the golden mean reframes success from all or nothing achievement to dynamic equilibrium. You no longer chase unattainable perfection or fear failing by doing too much. Instead, you cultivate eudaimonia, human flourishing, through reasoned choices that honor both aspiration and well-being. Sustainable productivity. Deep work, fueled by rest cycles, prevents burnout and enhances creativity. Emotional stability. Balanced engagement in pleasures and duties reduces anxiety and regret. Physical health, moderate exercise, sleep, and nutrition optimize energy and immunity. Resilient relationships. Balanced giving and receiving fosters mutual respect and prevents codependence. Continuous growth, steady progress outpaces sporadic efforts, building confidence and momentum. Old cycle, extreme. Push to exhaustion, burnout, guilt, withdrawal, repeat. New cycle, golden mean, moderate effort, reflection and rest, renewal, consistent, steady progress. By consciously choosing the middle path, you break free from the roller coaster of highs and lows and anchor your life in enduring virtue. This balanced foundation prepares you to adopt deeper Stoic practices, such as philosophical immunity with clarity and resilience. 4. Cultivate philosophical immunity. Build inner strength. The Stoics saw genuine resilience as an inner fortress, impervious to external turmoil. Marcus Aurelius taught, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Seneca called this psychological armoring apatheia, immunity to misfortune, rooted in right judgment, not emotional numbness. Rather than fleeing adversity, Stoics train themselves to meet hardship with equanimity. Imagine you wake to a sudden layoff notice. Panic rises, bills, mortgage, family obligations, but you resist the impulse to spiral. Instead, you recall that your true resources are your values, choices, and reasoned responses. You take a breath, remind yourself that a job loss lies outside your full control, and begin planning next steps with calm focus. Modern research shows that controlled mental rehearsal of adversity, known as negative visualization or premeditatio malorum, builds emotional resilience by desensitizing us to fear of loss and fostering gratitude for what we have. Studies on mental contrasting, imagining both desired outcomes and potential obstacles, demonstrate improved coping and persistence when challenges arise. By anticipating setbacks in a structured way, we reduce catastrophic thinking and prepare realistic strategies. Daily negative visualization. Each morning or evening, spend 5 to 10 minutes imagining a plausible setback, e.g., losing a client, an unexpected expense, illness. Visualize the details, then practice calmly accepting the outcome. And by listing what remains under your control: skills, relationships, attitude. Evening, reflective journaling. Before bed, review the day's events. Note one success, one difficulty, and the judgments you applied. Ask, what's within my control? What can I learn? This practice improves emotional processing, reduces anxiety, and enhances sleep quality by up to 30%. Philosophical self-inquiry. When facing a challenge, pause and pose. How would a sage handle this? Frame your response around Stoic virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, self-control, rather than immediate gratification or fear. Weekly principle study. Select one Stoic exercise, e.g., evening review, virtue memorization, adversities diary, each week. Commit to consistent practice rather than sporadic reading, embodying the Stoic law that virtue grows through action. Through repeated exposure to imagined loss and guided reflection, you rewire your appraisal of difficulty. Stressors cease to be threats, and become neutral events to be navigated. This shift from emotional reactivity to deliberate response transforms anxiety into creative problem solving. You move from victimhood to agency, viewing challenges as opportunities for moral and psychological growth. Cultivating philosophical immunity yields greater resilience. You rebound from setbacks faster, with less emotional turmoil. Enhanced gratitude, regularly confronting loss deepens appreciation for present blessings. Reduced anxiety, anticipating and normalizing hardship diminishes fear of the unknown. Improved sleep and well-being, reflective journaling, and mental rehearsal calm racing thoughts and foster restful sleep. Clearer decision-making, unshakable, inner calm allows you to weigh options rationally rather than reactively. Old cycle, external event, catastrophic fear, panic or avoidance, mounting stress. New cycle, external event, Stoic checkpoint, what's in my power, deliberate response, equanimity, and learning. By steadfastly practicing negative visualization, evening reflection, and philosophical self-inquiry, your inner citadel becomes impregnable. You no longer chase momentary comforts or flee hardship. Instead, you harness adversity as a forge for virtue, emerging stronger, wiser, and more grateful with each trial. Building philosophical immunity completes the quartet of Stoic strategies. With control mastered, availability guarded, balance embraced, and inner strength fortified, you possess a robust toolkit to transform any challenge into an avenue for authentic flourishing. The ancient Stoics understood something we've forgotten in our modern world. True strength comes not from optimizing everything external, but from mastering what lies within our control. These 8 habits, productivity, obsession, people-pleasing, toxic positivity, constant availability, perfectionism, chronic comparison, endless self-improvement, and conflict avoidance, seem virtuous on the surface, but like fool's gold, they glitter with false promise while weakening the very foundation of your character. Remember Seneca's wisdom. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Your journey to authentic strength begins when you courageously eliminate what weakens you, not when you add more to your already overwhelmed life. The middle ground isn't about mediocrity. It's about sustainable excellence. When you stop trying to be everything to everyone, you can finally become who you're meant to be. If this resonates with you, subscribe for more ancient wisdom applied to modern life. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes, the most loving thing we can do is help others recognize their own patterns of self-weakening. Your stronger self is waiting. It's time to claim it.